Hey, what up, though? This is Major from InfamousTechBlog.com, and right there you're looking at the HTC Thunderbolt and the Verizon version of the iPhone 4. And this, been out for a little while now. The Thunderbolt is still fairly new and doing pretty good, man. This is Verizon's first 4G phone. Of course, the iPhone 4 is not 4G; it's just a 3G device, but it's still definitely, one of the highest end smartphones in Verizon's lineup. And lately, man, on Twitter, especially, got a few of my homeboys that I go back and forth with about tech stuff, and we've been battling constantly. Also, a good friend of mine just picked up the Verizon version of the iPhone 4. So, a lot of people are saying, what is the best smartphone on Verizon's lineup right now? And it's a pretty good question, to be honest. I mean, right now, you got, Android is like in a kind of in a reload mode right now. I mean, they've got a bunch of devices that are going to be hitting the scene within, the next couple of, I'd say the next month and a half. You're looking at a ton of new phones. You got the Droid Bionic, which will be coming. You also have the Droid Incredible 2, which I got the Incredible 1. That's my personal phone. The Droid X2 will also be out, and it's looking like that's not going to be 4G. That'll be just another 3G device. But the Droid Bionic will be another 4G dual core phone. And then you also got the Samsung Charge, which will be another upper end smartphone. So Verizon's right in the middle of doing a reload. But I know some people, right now it's phone shopping season, and people are always wondering, okay, what's the latest and greatest and what's the best thing, on Verizon's lineup. So I'm going to do just a little, quick video comparison, kind of go through some of the strengths and weaknesses. And I guess I'll go ahead and start off with the Thunderbolt. I mean, for starters, you got the 4.3-inch display, which to me, I love it. Makes everything a little bit easier. When you go to do, a message, or let's compose a message, the keys are just so much larger. Even in this, portrait mode, if you flip to landscape, they're even bigger. Let's go ahead and get that. So this is always tougher to type when you're typing through the actual camera, but in person it's actually a lot easier. And I'll tell you what, I mean, between just using it on a day-to-day basis for emails, texts, whatever, I've had no problem whatsoever typing messages real and very quickly too on this phone. Also too, you got the the 4.3-inch screen is real nice when you're watching movies. This phone doesn't have the HDMI out, which I know some people are disappointed by that, but you do have a lot of other extras. You got 8 megapixel camera, dual LED flash. Right now where I'm at in Lansing, Michigan, we don't have 4G, so I don't get the luxury of seeing those ridiculous download speeds that that you've been seeing all over the internet. You've seen some people get 12, 15 megs down and some insane 20 meg upload speeds, but I'm not getting that. But I mean, on Wi-Fi, the device flies, is super fast, and even on 3G, it's been very solid. And so there's a lot to like about the phone. Even though this is 8 megapixel, whereas the iPhone is 5, I got to be honest, the iPhone actually takes superior pictures. To me, it's probably maybe the best camera cell phone out there on the market. I can't even hate on it. I know I've been an Android loyalist ever since I got my first Android device, and since I started reviewing them. And I had never owned or played with an iPhone. And so this is the first iPhone that I've had for an extended amount of time. And after getting familiar with it, I can see what they like about the phone. There's a lot to like. I'll get into some of the dislikes a little bit later, but it is a solid phone. When we talk about phone quality too, because let's not forget, I mean, that's really the most important thing, I guess, or maybe not for some people, but using the device as a phone is what's important. And I will say, phone feature wise, I think, you know, I honestly think the Thunderbolt does a better job when it comes, you know, down to finding contacts and locating people. Much easier to do on any Android device that I've used as compared to the iPhone. The iPhone, you know, just, it isn't that user friendly. If I start, you know, dialing somebody's number, even if it's somebody that I've called recently, it doesn't automatically pop up and start, you know, listing that individual. So that's kind of a pain in the ass, and I really, you know, it gets irritating. So I haven't liked it that much. Call quality though, however, I'd have to give to the iPhone. I've experienced none of the death grip problems that you had on the AT&T version. For me, it's been smooth sailing. Call quality is crystal clear, crisp. I love it. It sounds nice and warm. I know some people, there's a lot of complaints about the Thunderbolt. This particular model has been solid. The voice isn't quite as warm as it is on the iPhone, but it is adequate. It's decent. So, you know, as an overall phone, I would have to give I guess a slight edge to the Thunderbolt, just because of easy use and how quickly you can, you know, dial a contact versus over here where you gotta bring up the dialer, go over the contacts, and then look your person up. It doesn't, you know, the auto search functionality just doesn't work real well there. As far as messaging, they're both good. I think I give a slight edge to the Thunderbolt in the messaging department because of the keyboard. The keyboard size is just so much. Let's see if we can hop back and bring back up that text message if I could. I'll just start a new one. But you can see here versus, we'll go over here, and you can just see the difference in key size. I mean, you can almost fit 2 of these keys, you know, on one of the Thunderbolt's keys. And it does make a difference, even though I will say Apple's keyboard, for the size, it's very accurate. I mean, on, you know, for a 3.5-inch screen, it's probably more accurate than any, you know, smaller phone that I've ever used. So it does perform well, but there's just times where I still mistype just because of the size of the keys. Whereas over here, my accuracy is much higher. So also too, I guess email comes down to what you are using. Me being a Gmail person, for me, if you are a Gmail loyalist, you live and die by your Gmail, it's almost tough to, you know, separate from an Android device. I mean, there's no replacing, you know, the Gmail app that you get right here. I mean, you got all the functionality, about 90% of it anyway, that you get on the desktop version of Gmail versus, you know, over here you have to use just their standard mail client. And it's, you know, it's decent. It tries, you know, it actually picks up a fair amount of Gmail's, you know, functionality as far as grouping messages, and you even get your labels and things like that, but it's just not the same. I got to give a big thumbs up. But if you're not a Gmail person, I could see where it wouldn't really make a huge difference to you, and you may be just as comfortable, you know, over here on the iPhone side of it. So, you know, I guess, you know, to each his own. What else? We talked about the camera, video quality, solid on the Thunderbolt, very good on the iPhone. I mean, video is super crisp, especially, man, if you're out in like just a daylight scenario. I mean, this thing can definitely replace a flip cam or any of those, you know, cheaper HD cameras that you have. The iPhone could definitely stand in, or in some cases performs better than some of those devices. Operating system, and I know this is going to be the biggest debate, man. Of course, the Thunderbolt is running Android 2.2 with HTC's Sense functionality, which you see here. Gives you 7 panels to go ahead and swipe through, and then also you can, over here, you can double hit the home key and then view all 7 panels that way, and then go back to one. You got the widgets. I love the damn widgets, and this is something that iPhone users, you just don't get it. Over here, yes, this is cute, man. You got a lot of little icons, but to access any information from any app, you have to open up the app. I love being able to just sit right here and get my weather. Whereas over here, I got to open up the weather app. And I mean, yes, it's quick. I mean, we'll click on it real fast. That's pretty fast, right? Not bad. But right here, it's sitting. Every time I unlock my phone, it's right there waiting for me. I don't have to go anywhere. And that same, functionality, the same widget, functionality applies to everything. I mean, there's Twitter widgets, there's Facebook widgets, there's all these different layers that you can, access without even having to go into the app, which is, I mean, to me, man, there's almost no replacing it. I will say that Apple does a great job of presentation. Over here, everything is, look at that. The display is beautiful. Now that's another thing I should probably, definitely give advantage to the iPhone. I mean, over here you got the Retina display, which is, I think, is 960 by 640 or something like that. I have to get the particulars out, but I mean, you can see it. I mean, everything looks beautiful. I guess this falls into software, of course, would be app selection. That would also be a nod to the iPhone. I mean, the number of quality, good apps that they have is, I mean, it's tough to compete with. I mean, Android has 6 figures worth of apps now as well, so they're no slouch. But, iPhone is, still by far the leader. Android is gaining, but, iPhone just has a ton of stuff available. I love the Netflix app, which, if you're an Android user, you're still waiting on that. We don't have it yet. Over here, it's available and works like a freaking charm. I love it. So, I mean, I guess in the end, man, software really just comes down to a matter of personal preference. I mean, really, it comes down to, are you a person that loves, freedom? Or do you love presentation, having, stuff kind of almost spoon-fed to you? It's right here. It works very well. I'm not knocking that. I mean, the functionality is great, but there's this, there's kind of walls up around you that you have to get real tricky to get around. Whereas over here, if there's a great app that doesn't, for whatever reason, it doesn't exist in the Android market, I can go on the internet, grab it, install it, no problem. Whereas over here, everything is through the App Store, and through iTunes. If you, find an MP3 online, oh man, this is a dope song, I gotta have this. You can go ahead and go to the file sharing services, try to download it. You won't be able to. You'll be able to play it. You can listen to it, but if you want to save it, it's not happening. You have to go through iTunes, at least doing things the legal way. But regardless, man, we're going to continue this argument. I'm going to go ahead and give the iPhone a little more shine. I know I've been babysitting and holding on to the Thunderbolt, but let's go ahead and get into part 2, and we'll just keep running with this comparison.